Shoot a quick video just to cover some of the key topics. I want to talk about the cap situation we're at, where it stands for some of our pending free agents, and the moves that the Chiefs have made. Obviously, the big one is Jaylon Moore. We signed our left tackle. He's 27. He's about to turn 28. So by the time his contract's up, he'll be 30. Probably looking at like a 2-year rental, if you will, for that. And I think what that really says is potentially we don't see a lot of left tackles. Most of the left tackles or even tackles in this market in the draft are their arm length is below 34 inches. I don't think there's a whole lot of prospects that the Chiefs would really consider in this draft. That's not to be that I don't think they're good enough or anything to play left tackle. It's just Andy Reid and Andy Heck. They have pretty set standards of 34-inch arms, and they don't ever really seem to back down from that. So I could see them not being too interested in the draft this year from a tackle perspective. I know some of you may want to see them draft one. After spending this much money on a left tackle, I don't see it happening this year. I could see it being another focus and another thing we have to scout year in, year out next year. But as it stands, we gave him a $30 million contract with 21.2 million guaranteed. So that's 10.6 million per year, if you will, guaranteed. So decent contract for him. Pretty affordable contract for the Chiefs, honestly, for a left tackle. But there's a reason he's available, and that whether or not he can stay healthy and he's ready to take on a full season's workload, the Chiefs seem to think he is. I don't think this was plan A. I think obviously that was Ronnie Stanley. Plan B is Jaylon Moore. But we also signed Elijah Mitchell. That's a $3.5 million contract. So what I want to do really quick is I want to pull up this slide I had. I went over this in my preview video, but as you can see over the cap, we were at negative $9 million to begin with. We still got to sign a backup quarterback. We still need to re-sign James Winchester or another long snapper, but preferably Winchester. Nick Bolton has not hit over the cap yet. You want to leave a certain amount of money available to sign your draft picks, UDFAs and whatnot. And then once we have to get to the 53-man cut down, you're gonna lose some of what we're working with right now as well. So that's where I have that buffer built in. So the estimated available would actually be 31 million in the hole right now, and that's pre those two signings. Now there is if we rework, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones contracts, we could potentially save 47.8 million. That's what I've seen projected. That's not my own projections. That's just what I've seen. So if you work that out, it actually leaves us with about 16 million to work with, which as you can see, Jaylon Moore takes up a good chunk of that automatically with a $30 million contract. It could be a little bit more back end heavy next year. We'll have to see how that comes out once it hits over the cap. But that's going to be a lot of our working. And then you also have the Elijah Moore, or Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Moore's a wide receiver. Elijah Mitchell contract, 3.5 million. That's going to be a direct hit. So, that's pretty much what that's going to be. Some of that could be incentives and whatnot, but, not likely to be earned or something. So we'll get more details on that, but we're using up a good amount of that 16 million. So what does that mean for the Chiefs? It means we probably don't have a whole lot left we can do within free agency. That's my opinion. This is also my guesstimate of what we have available. So don't take that as like the gospel. This was over the cap last night. I have over the cap pulled up here as well. So you can see right now it's still the same number that's showing as of today. Obviously, as they sign these players, they don't show up to over the cap right away. It could be a day or two before we'll even see them hit there. You can see Marquise Brown is already showing up on here, though. You can see it was reported he was going to get an $11 million deal. Now, why is it not showing 11 million? Well, because it's pretty incentive laden. Maybe those incentives are listed as not likely to be earned, and therefore it doesn't count against the cap. If he were to earn them, then they would count against the cap next year. I believe that's how it works. So yeah, this is an idea of where we're at with our cap. So not a whole lot of wiggle room around with it. I'm glad we got our left tackle taken care of. We do have, this is what I wanted to cover with more by shooting this video. Left tackle was definitely a big need for the Chiefs. We all know that. We watched the Super Bowl. It was painful for all of us, and we're still recovering. Uh, but when we look at our roster, and I have our roster pulled up here, one of these spreadsheets, probably roster data, sorry. Got a couple things I can show you here too. Go really nerdy on you, but I'm going to try and not go too nerdy. But if you look at what we have currently at defensive tackle, this is again what I determine is a defensive tackle, not what the team has under contract. But there's only 4 defensive ends. The only one of those that I think you could potentially say plays defensive tackle. Maybe we've moved Mike Dana in. I don't know that we really ever have. Maybe Felix could move in a little bit, but not really. That's not an ideal defensive tackle. So the only one that actually has any NFL playing experience whatsoever is Chris Jones. And last year we actually kept like 4 or 5 defensive tackles to start the season. So this is a little concerning. We have a lot of work to do and no money to do it. And that's why I think in the draft we're going to be pretty heavily focused on defensive tackle. I mean, you have 2 players that did not play last year, both without any cap, dead money. They could easily be cut candidates, and so we have some shoes to fill there. So I could see that being a big focus for the Chiefs in the upcoming draft. I'm not saying my favorite players are defensive tackles by any means in the draft. It's not a bad defensive tackle class, but there's some opportunities there. So the one that I would focus on the most, I'd be most excited about, looking a little ahead to the draft now that we filled our left tackle needs and we've also taken a running back, would be, let's see if it pulls up for me. PFF's been moving a bit slow. He's actually listed as the number 25 prospect, and I think it's possible he could drop if there's another good run on offense like there was last year. It seems to have been the trend for the last couple years, and I'll show that as well. But is this guy right here, Walter Nolan. He's young, which Chiefs always like. He is physically, he's an animal, which Chiefs like, and he's good against the run, which means we wouldn't have to stack the box so much, and we could put a few more defensive backs in the secondary to play a little bit better pass coverage, which could help the team as a whole. Hopefully he's pretty decent with pressure. I think he had 6 sacks last year. Let's see if I can pull that up. 6 sacks last year, 7 sacks the year before. It's definitely, he's shown improvement year in, year out, so that's good to see. Be a couple Mississippi boys playing on the defensive line together, so that would be kind of cool. I would like to see that. I mean, that's probably my top pick right now in the first round if it was to come about. I don't know that the Chiefs will trade for it. I don't like that we give up so much draft capital each year just to try and move up. For somebody that maybe would have fallen to us, but you never know. And Veach, they have their guys. They don't want to risk losing them, and I'm not questioning Veach. Just each person's preference. There's other defensive tackles that are ranked ahead of him. I believe this guy out of Toledo, he's a defensive tackle, right? Yes. My biggest issue with him, they love him. He has a 90 rating, so I mean that's probably the highest defensive lineman rating there is in this entire draft class. Defensive tackle, I will note, that's important to note, because I believe the top prospect, Carter out of Penn State, actually had the highest PFF grading of anybody last year. But that's still in the MAC, and I'm not the biggest fan of the competition in the MAC. I don't, so when you're looking at defensive tackle play, it's hard to project exactly how well that's going to go. Not saying you can't, but not my favorite. I prefer somebody who's had some of the stiff competition, and Ole Miss being in the SEC, you've definitely had to go up against some big hosses in days. Here's another one, Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. 83, so not actually is rated as high, but a couple years of consistency as my boy from Ole Miss. Let's see. That's why I think he could drop. I think that's why we potentially could get him with the 31st pick. And then, let's see, one more. This would be a guy, if he were to drop, Armand Membu. I could be butchering that name too. He potentially could be somebody the Chiefs may look at. I don't think they'll ever go for anybody under 34-inch arms. But if they were, this might be that guy because he's the darling right now, offensive tackle. But his arms came in, I want to say at 33 and 7/8 or maybe 33 and a half, something like that. So he just doesn't check all the boxes the Chiefs look for in a tackle. And so that's why I don't think they'll be drafting too many tackles, at least not early in the draft for sure. Mason Graham, here's the other one I was looking for. A defensive lineman out of Michigan. So 2 Michigan boys. He's very highly rated. He'll be going in the top 10 for sure. There was no defensive players taken in the top 10 last year, so that's why I'm not going to say he's going to go 4th or top 5 even, but I think it's pretty safe to say he'd go 4th. There just isn't a lot of quarterbacks to have a good run on quarterbacks this year. I think it's possible Shedeur Sanders doesn't even get picked in the first round. Probably one of the few that's saying that, but it's legitimately a possibility. And yeah, then the others are, Abdul Carter, like I mentioned, 91.3, 91.1. I think he may have been the highest graded. Yes, an 88.2 for Travis Hunter. So I think if I go through this, there's 94.9 Ashton Jeanty. God, I would love the Chiefs to get him. That's an impossibility. So give that dream up right now. So anyway, that's just a quick look at the top prospects and why I think defensive tackles where we probably are going to be looking in the draft, and why I think why this is your man, Walter Nolan. So maybe look into him, watch some film. I'll be doing some draft videos to cover that. Some interesting things to look at from a draft data perspective. This is just turn it off now if you don't like data and spreadsheets scare you. But you can, what this sheet looks at is it actually, I have it filtered to show the earliest a position is picked. So in this particular year, I think this is probably going to be 2022, probably. In that particular year, the earliest defensive tackle was picked is 13th. The average pick was 28.5, so that means only 2 defensive tackles were taken in the first round that year. So the sum of the age, that's just me messing with the pivot tables. Disregard that. But this actually, I have all the data from. So if I go there, I should be able to see 13th pick, Jordan Davis. And then obviously if it's 20, it's pretty late. What's the other defensive tackle? Devontae Wyatt for Green Bay. So yeah, that particular year wasn't defensive tackle heavy. I think it'll be a little more heavy this year. But yeah, that's why I kind of sort through all these and go through each year's data. Actually, literally every single pick, and I build pivot tables to kind of analyze the trends. I think that you could have some top-level safeties obviously available too, if that would be an interest, because it's sure not looking like we're going to get Justin Reed back. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. This is just some of the things I wanted to share with you guys as far as over the cap. It's something you can easily do yourself. Over the cap's free to use. It does take a couple days usually to update as they sign those contracts and send it into the league office. But yeah, so far free agency's off to a good start. We've at least filled a couple needs. We did need running back help. All we really got is Pacheco there. After that, it's Carson Steele and Keontae Ingram. And to be honest, Carson Steele, I'd like to see him stay as a Chief. He could stay as a fullback, and we still retain 2 other running backs. But it looks like one of those is going to be Elijah Mitchell out of San Francisco. So one down. I would love to see us still take one pretty early in the draft. I don't want to tip my hand yet on the draft picks. But thank you for watching. If you could, as I mentioned in my previous video, check out my channel. I do apologetics work related to my Christian faith. I appreciate you guys' support over the years watching these videos. And so if you could provide me some support there by subscribing, it'd help me be able to reach more people that are maybe having troubles with their faith, struggling with their faith, or give them a reason to believe in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. There's actually a reason to believe beyond just blind faith. It's not just a blind faith thing. There's intellectual reasons to actually have faith, and that's what the apologetics community is for, is to provide actual historical scientific knowledge that helps people, have confidence in the faith that they have. So anyway, all apologetics. I appreciate you guys. God bless. Hopefully I'll be shooting more videos here in the future.